Have you ever wondered how a public health nurse can figure out if an entire town is healthy? I mean, checking one person's vitals is one thing, but trying to understand the health of a whole community, that's a totally different ballgame. So let's dive into how they do it. Right, this is the big question. How do you take the pulse of a whole city? It's this huge puzzle that community health nurses have to solve every single day. And you can't just walk up with a stethoscope, right? You need a completely different set of tools to see that bigger picture.
Because, a community isn't just a bunch of people living in the same place. It's this complex, tangled web of relationships, schools, jobs, and history. And to really see that web clearly, to find its strong spots and its weak points, you need a very special kind of toolkit. And that's exactly what we're going to break down. We'll start with nursing's theoretical toolkit. Then we'll look through 5 key lenses: the structural functional, the interactional, the developmental and exchange theories, and finally, the general systems theory. And then we'll pull it all together and see why any of this actually matters for our health.
Okay, so this toolkit I keep mentioning, it's really a set of theoretical frameworks. The best way to think about them is like 5 different pairs of glasses. Each pair lets a health professional look at the very same community and see something totally different and totally vital.
So here they are in a nutshell. You've got the blueprint, which shows you the overall structure. Then there's the magnifying glass for zooming in on those personal connections. The time lapse lets you see how things change over years. The ledger is all about weighing social pros and cons. And the ecosystem view, well, that shows you how every little piece is connected to everything else.
First up, let's get that 30,000-foot view. We're going to put on our urban planner's hat and check out the structural functional framework. This lens basically asks us to see the whole community as one big living thing. So the textbook definition is that it sees society as a complex system where all the different parts, kind of like organs in a body, have a job to do to keep the whole system stable and running smoothly. And this quote just nails it. It really is the blueprint. It doesn't show you the quiet conversations happening inside the library, but it shows you where the library is, and the hospital, and the schools. And it tells you what each one is supposed to do for the whole community. And this is where it gets really practical. Look at this breakdown. You have the structure, like the school system, and then you have its function, which isn't just education, but also socializing kids. A nurse using this lens is constantly asking, are our structures actually doing the job they were designed for to keep us healthy? All right, planner's hat off, magnifying glass on. Now we're going to shift gears to the interactional approach. This lens gives us a completely different view by zooming way in on the people themselves. So the key thing to get here is that this one isn't about the big buildings. It's about the little moments. It's about how we talk to each other, the inside jokes we share, the symbols that mean something to us. Everything from a neighborhood watch sign to the mural everyone loves downtown. Exactly. A nurse using this approach might hang out at a local park. Who talks to whom? Do people feel welcome? Is there a sense of pride and community? This view gets you the real, human texture of a community's health, the stuff you'd never see on a blueprint. Okay, now let's add 2 really interesting layers: time and choice. These next 2 theories are often looked at together because they help us understand the forces of change and the logic behind our decisions as a community. So first, we have the developmental approach. And it's simple, really. Just like a person, a community goes through a life cycle. It's born, it grows, it matures, and eventually, it might go through some big changes, or even a total renewal. And each stage brings its own unique health challenges. This timeline lays it out perfectly. A community health nurse in a growth phase is probably focused on things like prenatal care and making sure schools are healthy. But jump ahead to that last stage, decline/renewal. If the population is aging, the focus might be all about elder care. But if new families are moving in and revitalizing the area, well, then you're back to thinking about pediatric clinics. You see, time changes everything. Now for the choice part, exchange theory. This one is super practical. It basically says that we are all doing a constant, subconscious cost-benefit analysis. We join a group, we volunteer, we participate when we feel like the benefits are going to outweigh the costs. So a nurse might use this to figure out why, say, a new support group isn't getting much attendance. Maybe the perceived cost, the time it takes, the emotional risk of opening up just feels higher than the benefit of social support. To fix it, you either have to lower the costs or really pump up the benefits. It's a fantastic tool for creating programs people will actually use. Okay, time for our last lens. And for this one, we're zooming all the way back out to see the whole ecosystem.
The general systems theory is the one that really ties all the other perspectives together into one big interconnected web. The key word here is interconnectedness. With this lens, a community isn't just a list of parts, it's a living system. If you change one thing, let's say a big factory closes down, it doesn't just affect jobs. It creates ripples that hit family stress, school budgets, and eventually, everyone's health. And this is just the perfect analogy for it. You can't understand why one tree is sick without looking at the health of the entire forest. This theory forces a nurse to think, okay, if we start this new health program at the school, what are the ripple effects going to be for families, for local shops, for the whole system? So we've looked through 5 different lenses: the blueprint, the magnifying glass, the time-lapse, the ledger, and the whole ecosystem map. But what's the bottom line? Why does having this toolkit actually help create healthier communities? Well, it's because these frameworks take something that feels messy and chaotic and make it understandable. They give you a structured way to look at things. They help you pinpoint not just problems, but also hidden strengths. And maybe the most important thing is that they show you there's no single right answer. The best approach is a holistic one that uses all the tools in the box. And that kind of leaves us with one last question to think about. Think about where you live. What's its story? Is its health best understood by its big structures, the daily interactions, its stage of life, the choices people make, or the way everything connects? Which one of these lenses reveals the most about your community?